This semester, an important part of my learning experience at Field Placement was about instruction and how the teacher can differentiate instruction for students and how the teacher can adapt her instruction and kind of like change it so that if something's not working, we need to go back, we need to fix it, and we need to make sure we also stay on schedule with the plan that they have at TPS, where they're actually on a daily schedule. Like, this is what you need to do every day throughout the year. So, an example came up actually in my classroom one time when the students were learning about how to solve equations. And the teacher realized that they had taken a quiz afterwards, kind of an informal assessment type thing, and they didn't know what they were doing. And a lot of the students did not show the process that they had to go through to get the answer. So the teacher took an extra day out of the lesson plan to kind of explain the different methods that they could use to solve equations. So actually what I have with me is kind of like an artifact right here, and it's what she gave me. And so she came up with this sheet, and it's basically the steps that she wanted them to take for solving the equation. So you can see how she broke everything down for them so that they could be able to solve the equations. Because before, without this sheet, they were like, what was step two? What was step four? What was I supposed to do here? So now they kind of had something to help them out, and she took an extra day to go over it. So that was part of her adapting instruction to the learning and the progress of her class, hoping that, sometime maybe they'll understand something really well, so that'll take up less time than she had planned for to make up for the time she used for this. Another thing that I learned about was differentiating instruction. There was a time at this point at this year where the students were going home to their parents and they were saying, oh my gosh, like Miss Logheck, she doesn't teach. She doesn't give us enough practice. She doesn't teach us. And so they were going home to their parents and saying that, and it actually got back to the administration. And she had to kind of rework her lesson plans to adapt to her students, but also make sure that she was differentiating everything because some students liked the way she was teaching, some students didn't, so she had to make sure that she worked in a little bit of everything. So she continued to work with the students the way she did, but she also brought in some additional practice like you see right here. And basically she gave the students these extra worksheets that they were allowed to use in class, and they weren't really for grades, and then she would work through with the students to make sure they were understanding, but those who were getting it were also given the additional practice to get them make sure they knew everything and everything like that. So big thing for that was differentiating her instruction for all of the students, and not just that, but also one week she showed a video, one week she used hands-on M&Ms and Skittle activity, so it was like the kinesthetic, the auditory, and she's always using the visual learning, so it's just something that adapts to the different students. I think this is a really important aspect of a classroom because you want to make sure that all the students are learning to their best ability and to the standard that you want to keep them at. So in my classroom in the future, I want to do the same thing as Ms. Schlagheck and adapt instruction to my students rather than to what is convenient to me.